Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon, or some might even say good evening. It's your girl, Jasmine Kylene. I look insane right now. I didn't realize it until I saw this color orange is very loud and my hair hasn't fallen quite to where we need it to fall yet, but this is what I would like to call an emergency meeting. There's something urgent about the message that I must share today. Mind you, I don't think anyone is going to join live because this is at such an awkward hour, but I need to especially have this on YouTube because the reason why I'm calling this emergency meeting is because I have had within the past 2 weeks, and particularly since Mercury has gone into the sign of Libra, which mind you, Mercury right now for a little moment is going to be in the sign of Virgo. But ever since Mercury Retrograde in particular went into the sign of Libra, I have had such an overwhelming amount of readings be booked by people who not only have the same question, but were born within the same time frame, which for context, and this message is very specifically for, it'll resonate to anyone who's kind of in this similar point in life, but particularly if you were born July 31st, July 31st, 1995 through, geez Louise, January 24th, 1997. There is something very specific about what the astrology is doing to your chart and the questions that you are asking yourself because of what the astrology is doing to your chart. And there's also a specific layer of this for those that were born in January 31st, 1995 through January 24th, 1997, but also anyone who has Chiron in Libra, which would be September 9th, 95 through December 29th, 96, or as well as April 4th, 97 through September 2nd, 97. Yes, that's true. Sorry, I had to verify. Hi, thank you for joining. Now, this is a very particular message that I have for you guys, not only because have I seen it in all of the readings that I've done recently, but this is what's happening in my chart right now as well. I can't get over this hair. Okay, I'm going to try and not be distracted by how loud I feel like I look. So, once again, I want to recap. If you were born within, let's just say overall 95 through 97, there is a large question coming into play when it comes to what is your purpose? What are you doing? Are you living a life in alignment with the fullest version of your potential? And how do you respond to the fears that you inevitably need to confront in order to follow that purpose? The reason why is because everyone born within the dates that I mentioned has a natal North Node in Libra. And a big majority of the dates that I mentioned have as well a natal Chiron in Libra. I'll explain what both of those means. I'm going to say a bunch of words and I'm going to make it make sense in just a moment. But your North Node, for anyone who's not familiar, is the lunar nodes, right? You have a North and South Node that you're born with. How are you using two mobiles? I have a computer that I'm looking at the chart at as I talk. But your North Node sort of represents what I like to call the North Star in your life, a karmic point, your karmic story, your destiny. Your North Node is what you go towards when you are searching for how to align yourself with the fullest potential of this lifetime by learning the karmic lessons that you need to learn, right? So your North Node, I think, has everything to do with your purpose, your destiny, what you're meant to go towards. And Chiron represents what we know as the wounded healer, which is sort of the wounds and inevitably the fears that come with confronting your shadow and ultimately asking yourself if you are willing to follow that fullest potential of your life. Now, these are questions that you're going to have to ask yourself over the course of your lifetime, of course, especially when you have very specific North Node or South Node transits or Chiron transits. But the reason why I feel like this is particularly coming into question right now is because Mercury Retrograde, which we all have been talking about, Mercury Retrograde is a very intense transit that is forcing us to kind of, experience delays and really sit in our overactive minds and really ask ourselves a lot of questions. But Mercury Retrograde, while right now is in the sign of Virgo, started off and will end back in the sign of Libra. And what I think, I don't know if it goes back to the sign of Libra, but it has initiated in the sign of Libra. And I think it really has called into question because it's closely conjoining a lot of our North Nodes. Mercury ruling the mind, we're bringing into question our purpose, our destiny, what we're doing, and we're inevitably having to confront the fears that come with those questions. So because I've had so many readings of people that are born in this like particular time slot and that are asking themselves those questions, and because I am currently someone born in 96, yes, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to privately message me. If you, like I said, because I am February 5th, 1996, I am also confronting all these questions, and I want to impart some wisdom that I've not only shared in the readings that I've done, but also how I've navigated this transit for myself. The first thing I would say is to limit distraction right now. Mind you, any retrograde that we experience are always is this call to retreat, to going inward, to really spending time not only in isolation but intentional isolation. I would invite you to meditate as much as possible right now, to journal as much as possible right now, to really hear yourself. Because if you're asking yourself a question related to the lines of what am I meant to be doing? How do I want to carry out my purpose? What do I believe my purpose to be? What do I want to do in this lifetime? What am I doing, right? And these can be really exciting questions, but these can also be very overwhelming questions. Like, especially if you feel like you're not living or not walking on the path of your truth or walking on the path of your purpose. This can be an overwhelming time because you're kind of having to confront what fears have kept me safe and have kept me off the path. So what I would say right now is to limit distraction, because I think that if we are surrounded by external opinions, external noise, we are perhaps wrongfully influenced by what other people think our purpose is or what other people think our path is versus what our actual truth is. You don't really get to build an intimate relationship with your actual truth until you allow yourself to be distractionless. So I think right now would be a beautiful time. Of course, socialize with the environments and the people that uplift you and that honor you living in your truth. But ultimately, I would really invite you to sit in some stillness, sit in meditation, journal, limit distraction, and I think above all else, build an intimate relationship, not with what your fear's voice is telling you, but what your true soul's authentic voice is telling you. The second thing I would say is to remain heart-led. I think a lot of times we can go into survival mode. I think for me, when I was first confronting this transit, I was in full-on survival mode in terms of, yes, hi, hello. I have to get the message out. So if you need any insight in terms of your particular chart, feel free to private message me. But yes, what I will say is that, oh gosh, I lost my place. My brain I feel like Mercury retrograde has also made my brain think 5 thoughts at once and not be able to catch itself back. But yes, so I found that when I was first navigating this transit, I got into full on survival mode. And I was like, you know what, if I want to pursue what I believe my purpose to be, and the third point is really going to tie this all together. But the second point is that I think I got into survival mode because I was like, well, I need to study. I need to get my master's. I need to figure out how I'm going to make money from what I want to do. And I was in survival instinct. I was in fight or flight mode. I was living by the means of societal conditioning and what society has told me living successfully is. And I found that I wasn't being led by heart. I was being led by fear, by survival, by fight or flight, by a nervous system that was going haywire. And I think what's so beautiful about this invitation to come back to heart really is this invitation to come back to what your inner child wants and what your true internal instinct has told you that living a life authentically really means for you. So yes, recap is number 1, try to limit as much distraction and make sure that your solitude is intentional solitude. Journal, meditate, sit in stillness, and really hear, outside of what my mind wants, what does my body want? 2, when you're setting intentions, making sure that you're being heart-led and not survival-led, not survival instinct-led, that kind of stuff. And number 3, what I think, because when this transit first happened, I think I was in full, like I said, survival mode. And I was really trying to think my purpose into existence and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. And what I really realized is that when you come back to body, when you come back to authenticity, when you come back into that place of groundedness and stillness and are being intentionally led by your guides and your divine team, you find that purpose is an active choice. And so this third point, and this third piece of advice that I've been giving people in my readings, but also what has really saved me, search up on YouTube. I believe it's called, hold on, let me get the exact name of this video because it really changed everything for me. Hold on. No one leave. Okay, here it is. It's called The Benefit of Living with No Purpose by Alan Watts. That really changed everything for me. But in summary, what it brings into question, or at least for me, what I really extracted from that talk by Alan Watts, who's the most incredible philosopher of all time, I believe, is that our purpose is an active choice, and living a life that is purposeful and fulfilling is completely up to what you define purpose and fulfillment to be. And I do believe that our paths and our destinies, there's an element of it that is predestined, but we also have free will. And there's this song by Willow Smith called The Reason, which I revisit a lot because it has so much to do with, like, you know, when you're searching for what am I supposed to be doing, you don't realize that, like, you can decide. You can decide what you want to be doing and how you want to carry out your gifts and your purpose in this lifetime. And I think that, like, that sort of whatever is predestined will organically unveil the more that you follow what feels good. And so understand that, like, living your purpose and living what you're supposed to be doing in this incarnation, living your fullest potential, is found when you follow what feels good, what your body says a full-blown hell yes to, and ultimately what you personally define success to be, joy to be, security and freedom to be. And I think that when you really sit down with those definitions, you'll find that you may have been defining them through societal's lens and through what society has deemed success to be. I think I was so stressed out and in survival mode because I was living a life through the lens of, like, I need to be financially secure and I need to be impressing what my family believes success to be. I need to be living by definition and by circumstances that are outside of me. But the minute that I realized and sat with what my personal definition of success is, which for me that means living in a way that aligns with, like, giving and serving to community in a way that not only liberates myself, but liberates others, right? Hi, thank you for joining. As a recap, I'm talking about how anyone born from 95 to 97, hi, from Nairobi and India, I love that. Anyone born 95 to 97 has a natal North Node in Libra, and this Mercury Retrograde is really forcing us to confront questions related to our purpose and to what we're meant to be doing, our fullest potential, and ultimately the fears that are kind of being triggered in that. So yes, limit distraction, remain heart-led, but ultimately understand that your purpose is a choice. And I found that instead of equating my purpose to my career, which is what I believe society has been kind of yelling at us, I've really instead been really, like, just rooting myself in the knowing that how I live my life is how I carry out my purpose. And if I'm living a life that's nourished by community, that's intentional, that's loving, that's present, where, you know, I want my purpose to be carried out in the way that I live my authenticity as loudly as possible, that I share what I believe to be, like, my gifts and all of the creative avenues that it wants to arrive in, but ultimately where I just know that I'm living freely, and that means traveling freely, that means meeting as many people as possible, that means carrying out my purpose through all avenues of life, rather than how am I going to fit my purpose into a constrained 9-to-5 box in a way that can be healthily monetized, right? So, like, understand that, you know, your purpose is an active choice, and there's elements to our lives that are predestined, but those predestined elements will unfold the more that you follow what feels right. So really be led by heart, be led by body. Ask yourself what you want to make of your life, and how are you going to measure a job well done? So if you know that you want your purpose to be, you know, I want to carry out my gifts in dance healing by being an incredible Zumba instructor. How are you going to measure out a job well done? Is it by how much money you make, or how many people arrive to your class, or rather the quality of the experience that they have when they take your class, right? Or how you feel when you finish a class. And ask yourself the ways that you define success. Is it through what society deems as checkpoints, or through what your soul has self-defined success to be? So yes. In summary, if you've been asking yourself questions related to what my purpose is, and ultimately, like I said, if your Chiron is also in Libra, you're getting hit with the fears that come with understanding that it is difficult to unlearn stuff that is so deeply ingrained in our DNA. And when we've been operating through societal constraints for so long, certain beliefs and certain ways of being have become systemic. So like, even if you know that your soul doesn't define success to be financial stability or through impressing family or having whatever we've been told success is, understand that that's so deeply embedded in your DNA now that confronting it and unlearning it is inevitably going to trigger fears. So understand that if right now, accompanied with these questions related to purpose, are a lot of fears, which for me, I also have a natal Chiron and Libra. There's so many. It's really, really scary and fear-inducing to think that like I may be forfeiting, or rather me redirecting my route, right? So not going towards being financially safe, but understanding that and trusting in the fact that because I self-define purpose to be fulfillment, if I go towards what feels fulfilling and right, financial security and stability will inevitably arrive there because I'll be in the active vibration of abundance. That is both liberating, but also very, very, very scary, because it goes against what we've built our nervous system to find safety in, right? No matter what, even if you consciously are aware of the fact that this isn't your truth, your nervous system has been taught and has lived by the truth that like we are safe when we have a secure amount of income coming in every month, or when we have a plan, when we're being supported, especially by others, right? Libra North Node, just natally, has a lot to do with like accepting help as well and communal help. So like understand that going towards your truth is going to challenge a lot of what you've been programmed to believe is safe. And you're going to have to rewrite a lot of stories, and rewriting stories is difficult and scary, but ultimately so worth it. So yeah, if this resonates at all with you, particularly if, like I said, you're born July 31st, 95 through January 24th, 97. And conversely, if your Chiron is in Libra, so September 9th, 95 through December, September 9th, 95 through December 29th, 96, or April 4th, 97 through September 2nd, 97. Then yeah, these questions related to purpose, to fears that accompany you confronting your purpose are really going to be at the forefront. So like I said, sit in as much distractionless isolation as possible. And when it comes to the fears that are inevitably arising, ask yourself, how do you want to intentionally respond to those fears? It's not about living fearlessly, because I think it's human instinct to have an ego and for our ego to protect us by surviving. So like fears are inevitable, but it's rather, how are we going to survive and confront these fears? Are we going to drown in them, or are we going to recognize you're just trying to protect me from the story that you've been told, and I can make the active choice to respond to you lovingly by holding your hand, but by ultimately understanding that I can still make the brave choice and we're gonna be okay. It's about sort of personifying your nervous system as perhaps, just the child in you that has had to survive any sort of trauma, and understanding that like when you hold your ego, when you hold your nervous system and say, I understand why you're panicking right now, but it's going to be okay. That's when you sort of shift the story and where you break those cycles. So yeah, know that as well, anytime we have any North Node transit or any North Node aspect, a lot of karmic situations may happen. So just trust that as long as you stay in the vibration of trust, in following your truth and being in your own vibration and tending to that vibration, the opportunities, the people, the circumstances aligned are going to sort of show up seamlessly. And with any sort of, like I said, North Node transit, there's a lot of karmic experiences. So you may get invited to a certain thing, or have, a certain person reach out, or just things that kind of happen that are like, that's serendipitous. Follow it, trust it, be in it. And yeah, that's ultimately what I have to share. If you have any, obviously this is going to hit everyone differently relative to where your North Node and Chiron are in your houses, in your specific charts. So if you want to work one-on-one with me, feel free to reach out and to book a session. That was a little fly that just passed by. And yeah, I'm sending you all my love. I am surviving this as well, and I'm finally on the other side of the panic. It has a lot to do with that Alan Watts video that I watched, and understanding the fact that like our purpose is an active choice, and we don't have to live life constantly reaching for an external success, but rather defining what that internal success feels like for us, and living in that, living in the enoughness, and having opportunities find us in that. So yeah, I'm sending you all my love, and I'll see you next time.